Hi, I'm Bailey with my math experts, and today I'm going to teach you how to solve the following problem. What are the solutions to the following equation? X squared plus 2x minus 12 equals negative 12. So you might be tempted to start moving things around, like, oh, let's move the x squared over to the other side by subtracting x squared, or let's move the 2x to the other side by subtracting 2x. The problem with trying to approach this like solving a regular linear equation is that you're always going to have an issue because this is an x squared and this is an x to the first. So there's always going to be, if you're trying to get x by itself, there's always going to be an extra x somewhere where you don't want it. If you're just trying to solve this like a regular linear equation, like just like 4x equals 12 or something. So since this is a quadratic equation, meaning that the highest power of x is 2, you have to approach this a little differently. So whenever you are faced with a quadratic equation, the first thing you're going to want to do is get everything over to one side so that one side of the equation has all your terms and the other side is 0. So first thing here, let's actually add this 12 to both sides so that it cancels out on the right-hand side and we just get 0 over there. And then on our left-hand side, we're just going to have x squared plus 2x because this is also going to cancel out the negative 12 right here. Second thing you're always going to want to try to do in a quadratic equation, once all of your terms are over on the same side, is factor. So this is not a trinomial, so we're not going to be able to break it up into factor pairs. However, it looks like we can use greatest common factor to factor here. So let's factor out an x because both of these terms have an x in them. Let's factor out an x, and we're going to get x times x plus 2. Great. So now we have two things that are multiplied together, x times the quantity x plus 2, and they're equal to 0. So now we're going to use something called the zero product property that just says if you have two things that are multiplied together and they're equal to 0, either the first thing has to be 0 or the second thing has to be 0. And now we can just solve each of these two equations separately, and that'll tell us what our values of x are. So this first one, actually, we don't have to solve anything. It just straight up tells us x equals 0, and that's one of our solutions. The other one, we still have to get x by itself. Luckily, it's super easy. We just subtract 2 on both sides, and then we get our second solution, x equals negative 2. And voila, there you have it. Really keep in mind this process for future problems. Typically, all quadratic equations are going to follow this pattern. The only thing that might throw a loop in that is if you can't factor, if you get to this step and this is not factorable, in which case you would have to use the quadratic formula instead. But if you can factor, it's going to proceed using the same steps from there. And then, of course, it's always worth it to check your work. You can do that just by substituting your values back into the original equation and making sure you get a true statement. So let's try that with 0. We would get 0 squared plus 2 times 0 minus 12 equals negative 12. We want to make sure this is true. 0 squared is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. So we end up getting negative 12 equals negative 12. That works out. And then let's check this with our negative 2. Negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2 minus 12 equals negative 12. We want to make sure this is true. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then 4 minus 4 is 0. So once again, we get negative 12 equals negative 12. And we have proven that both of our solutions work. So great. Hopefully that helped. Thanks for watching.